Hello my dear friends, and welcome back to another Star Wars news update. Today we have lots to talk about, and we begin with Daisy Ridley, who on French television not only talked about her experiences in 7, 8 and 9, but also teased what's coming, her Star Wars movie with Sharmeen Obaid-Chinoy, and she defended Star Wars fans. Now if you're a patron, and the link is down below, I wrote out a full article this morning expressing everything that was said, so do check that out if you want, but otherwise, here is the lowdown. It's normal for first-time actors who are new to enormous franchises like Marvel and Star Wars to feel somewhat bewildered and insecure watching their performances back. And this couldn't be more true for Rey Skywalker actress Daisy Ridley, who during a press tour for her upcoming Sometimes I Think About Dying, spoke about her experience in 7, 8 and 9. It's kind of heartbreaking. She said this: "After watching the first film, so The Force Awakens in 2015, I told myself that I was shit, and that I really was less. I cried down my body's tears, thinking I was the worst thing that ever happened to Star Wars," which is a really tragic statement because she was not the problem. Daisy is a fantastic actress. It was the story, it was the lack of an overarching plan, but it was never the actors. The talent in the sequel trilogy was immense. Daisy immediately retaliates and stated it wasn't the fans who gave her the worst of it. She defends the Star Wars fandom by saying that she felt embraced, especially at Star Wars Celebration last year in London. She doesn't deny there is a lot of fan vitriol though. There is a lot of anger towards her character, towards the films, but Daisy states anytime she's met fans it's been a very positive experience. And so now my dear friends, on the subject of the new Jedi Order film, the interviewer mentions the recent controversy surrounding comments made by Chinoy, the ones from 8 years ago which resurfaced, which had nothing to do with the film, but also the comments that Sharmeen made last week surrounding women shaping a Star Wars story for the first time. Daisy defends Sharmeen's talent and states she is very excited to work with the documentarian. She's very impressed by what she's seen, however, very surprised by the story, but she doesn't know much, and we will get back to why later in the video. Daisy is hush-mouthed, and the interviewer goes into rapid-fire mode asking about lightsabers, Skywalkers, you name it, and apart from a few affirmations from Daisy including the Force and lightsabers, she doesn't know much and can't say too much. But one final major tease that she gives is the return of a fan-favourite droid, BB-8, which is not too surprising. She doesn't name him, but when asked about droids, she does give a very strong confirmation. And concerning Chewie, or should I say Wookiees in general, she says probably. Really awesome stuff. And so now my dear friends, we have more news about the Mando movie. I can't believe we already have more news on this. So yesterday, we got a massive announcement that I covered in my second video. The Mandalorian and Grogu is a new Star Wars movie coming to the big screen. This one is directed by Jon Favreau. And a major question I've seen from fans is whether or not this is going to replace Season 4. In essence, is this film going to be in lieu of The Mandalorian Season 4 on Disney+? Or is it going to be its own thing? Is it going to complement the Disney Plus show? Well, until a couple of hours ago, the answer seemed pretty simple, but it's not. We assumed this was going to be Season 4, making Star Wars Bespin Bulletin Jeff Snyder. Their rumours, which seemed to be corroborated, came true. The next season of Mando is on the big screen. There is a very strong possibility, with the exception of Skeleton Crew and Ahsoka, the future of The Mandalorian is on the big screen. There have been so many criticisms levied towards the structure of recent Disney Plus shows, especially Mandalorian Season 3. That is where for many fans the cracks began to show, stretching plot threads across an entire season that could have taken, 1 or 2 episodes at most. So I think the positive for many fans who are optimistic about this potential shift, the idea that not just for this film but for future Mandalorian projects, they're really going to prioritize the movie theatre that experienced the classic Star Wars experience, is that John and Dave, and Kathleen Kennedy, Rek Famuyiwa, and a few others, are forced to get to the meat and potatoes, because the story is structured around a movie, a one and done, as they say. But here's the thing, there is still so much uncertainty as to if we're still going to get a Season 4. Lucasfilm on social media are being vague, cautious and ambiguous with the way they're wording everything. So we don't know. We know this movie is separate to Dave Filoni's outing, which takes place in the same era, probably closer to the end. But the movie in question, the one that was just announced, the one by Jon Favreau, is being marketed and pushed as the next stage of the Mando story, the next chapter for Din Djarin and Din Grogu, his son. So that is where the assumption that it's going to replace season 4 comes from. But now, my dear friends, both Variety and Deadline believe differently, insisting they're two separate projects. In their latest articles, they've said this: "It's unclear where the film fits into the timeline of the live-action series, and the reason is because, in their own words, they are still working on developing a 4th season alongside the new movie announced." Now, we don't know if they're getting this information mixed up, and it's unclear if they're confusing the two projects and just making the assumption production on season 4 is going ahead as normal on top. And I've got to say, this does seem extremely doubtful. If both are set to begin production at the same time, it's impossible they're pursuing both. Unless production on the new film, which is titled Mandalorian and Grogu, takes precedence, and they're going to choose to return to season 4 at a different date. If that's the case, then there's a good chance this Mando movie takes place in between seasons 3 and 4. But as I say, my dear friends, I just think Variety and Deadline got this one wrong. This movie just got announced, so in the coming weeks and months we may get clarification. At the time of making this video though, we don't know. So what does this movie mean for the Rey film? That's another big question. Well, renowned scooper making Star Wars had a fantastic live stream last night, where he confirmed the writer of the Rey movie, Steven Knight, has not turned in a single word of his draft. He's apparently still on the project, but there is zero chance the Rey movie is going to happen until 2027, at the very, very earliest. And what that means is that Jon Favreau's Mando movie is going to be first. Our first Star Wars cinematic theatrical outing since The Rise of Skywalker is probably going to be The Mandalorian and Grogu. The other monumental piece of Star Wars news that came out of yesterday's report is that the Ahsoka show is now confirmed to be getting a season 2. The renewal of Ahsoka is a very good sign for the future of Disney+, because after the strikes, Bob Iger promised that with IPs such as Star Wars, they were going to focus more on big screen stuff than the shows, and it sounded as though there was never going to be the possibility of an Ahsoka season 2 or Boba Fett season 2, and that tells me the story Dave Filoni pitched to Kathleen Kennedy and to Disney is a strong one. We also have to consider Dave Filoni has a much more senior role, a much more hands-on creative decision-making role. His recent promotion may mean he gave the green light himself. In either case, a very interesting idea is the fact they're probably definitely going to recast Ray Stevenson. Who is going to take the iconic role as Baylan Skoll? Could it be Russell Crowe? That is certainly a prominent name being thrown around. But what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. And if you enjoyed this video, please be sure to give me a big fat thumbs up, subscribe if you're new, and check out the video on your end screen now.